In 1932, Charlie Pollard was a 26-year-old farmer living in Macon County, Alabama, where 82% of the population at the time was African American. Many of the other residents in Macon County were completely dirt poor. So when Charlie heard a rumor that the government was going to be coming to town and giving free medical exams to all the African American men, Charlie was thrilled. And so a couple of days later, Charlie got in line and the health service worker told him that today they were just going to be doing a blood test. A couple of days later, the results from the blood test had come in and Charlie was informed that he had bad blood. He was now eligible to join a government-sponsored medical treatment program. He would not only receive medical care for his bad blood, he would also receive free rides to and from the health clinic. He would get a free hot meal on examination days, and in the event he died during the program, his family would be given $50 if they allowed the doctors to perform a thorough autopsy on his body before they buried him. Charlie decided to join the program. About 400 other African American men from Macon County agreed to be a part of the program as well. Less than a year later, men in this program began getting sick. They started developing rashes and sores all over their body. Their bones and joints would ache. They began losing hair. They had indigestion. They had headaches. They had constant fevers. And for some of the men, these symptoms would eventually subside. But for others, they got dramatically worse. They would develop tumors and their bones would start to disintegrate. They would go blind or deaf or become paralyzed, or they would simply die. Then in 1973, so over 40 years after they began this medical program, a very junior assistant within the public health service secretly mailed off all of the records of this Macon County medical program to the Associated Press. And then a couple of days later, the Washington Star newspaper ran this huge story on their front page that said syphilis victims in United States study went untreated for 40 years. Charlie and the other 400 men in this medical program, they didn't have bad blood. What they had was syphilis, a deadly disease that ravages the human body in 3 stages that can unfold over a lifetime. This was not a treatment program. It was a US government-backed medical study of what happens to African American men with syphilis if their condition goes completely untreated for their entire lives. In the 1940s, a cure for syphilis was discovered. They intentionally hid the cure from them and prevented them from getting it. The Public Health Service chose Macon County, Alabama, because at the time, 35% of the population was already infected with syphilis. At least 28 men in this study died as a result of their syphilis infections. Charlie was 66 years old when he heard the news, but fortunately his syphilis had either burned out or gone dormant. Charlie got in touch with a lawyer who eventually sued the federal government, and in an out-of-court settlement, Charlie and the other 73 survivors of the so-called Tuskegee experiment were given $38,000 each as compensation. And then 27 years later, on April 29th, 2000, Charlie passed away at the age of 94.